Okay, hi everybody. This is Carmela at Carmela's Rasslin Radio Relived. Um, as I said before, we were going to try to go back into the old days, and relive a lot of stuff from the old times. We're going to do that and then ultimately maybe move up a little bit as we go along into maybe we'll talk about WrestleMania in a couple weeks and stuff like that. But I did say that I was going to have a lot of guests. My friend Jeannie is here. Hi, Jeannie.
Hello, hello.
We are going to eventually get her on screen with me every week. We have to get another setup with seating. But today I'm very, very excited. I have a dear friend of mine who I met a million years ago. Okay. He is to the WWF what Michael Cole, I would say, is to the WWE right now, in my opinion, because there was really not a lot of commentary back then. But in my opinion, he is the guy. Okay, he was ring announcer for a lot of years. His name is Gary Michael Cappetta. I'm sorry, I messed that up. Gary, how are you?
If you're looking for old, you came to the right place.
Well, no, I don't think
You're
so.
not
I'm
going to
older
get
than
much
you.
older than me.
I'm older than you. I can lay you money on that one. How are you?
Oops, I guess I said the wrong thing then.
Yeah, you can get older than you.
I'm doing really good. Thanks. Yeah.
Good. So I hear good things, okay, if I'm not mistaken. I did a little bit of reading last night, a little bit of research.
Uh-oh.
You're going to be in Nutley, New Jersey coming up soon. Is that correct? Doing ring announcing?
Yes. Saturday, April the 13th.
Okay.
I'm going to, there's an IWF. It's a really good independent wrestling promotion in northern New Jersey. This is going to be in Nutley. And I'm going to be doing some guest ring announcing.
Wow.
So that means I think they have a double main event that night. So I'll probably announce those two matches.
Cool.
Yeah, I go out and, maybe a half dozen times a year and I do guest ring announcing. Then I do some conventions. And I'm going to, there's a new project. Dave Penzer had, and your listeners know Dave from WCW Nitro.
Okay.
And also most recently TNA. So he's
Okay.
been the ring announcer for those promotions. He had asked me about going out on the road with him and doing, I don't know, like Q&As, or I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I just heard this morning that there's a possibility that we're gonna start. There's interest. So
Wow.
that'll be interesting because
and
I did tour a little bit with my stage show. So
Mhm.
this is comparable to that.
Now wait a minute. Stage show. What stage
Yeah.
show? Tell us about that.
Oh, how could you miss my stage show?
I missed it.
I did it in Philly at one of the comedy clubs.
Get
But
out.
this was pre-pandemic. This was a while
Okay.
ago. People absorb information in different ways, and not
Right.
everybody reads. There is a reader, and so I had my book Body Slams. So I decided that I was going to go on the road and present a lot of the stories from my book on stage. And I had a
Wow.
giant screen behind me. And as I'm
That's
telling
awesome.
stories, you're seeing like Jimmy Snuka attack me. You're seeing George Steele chase me. You're
Oh,
seeing, Mick Foley losing his ear the night that I picked up his ear in Munich, Germany. Like whatever I was talking about, Bruno, you're seeing Gorilla Monsoon, Andre the Giant. I talked about all of the folks that I had the privilege of knowing in my career.
wow, that's beautiful because I'm telling stories too. Ever since I was a little kid, I started going wrestling when I was 6 years old. And I was back with the wrestlers. Like my parents were such good friends with them that I used to sit in the back with them all the time. And then as time went on, we talked about them coming to my house, eating dinner there, hanging out, whatever. And it's like we both have a ton of stories to talk about.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about your book. What made you decide to write a book?
I didn't start with the intention of writing a book. When I finished with WCW in 1995, it was difficult to transition to come off the road. I was on the road about 200 nights a year,
For
one
sure.
nighters. And so it was just difficult that all of a sudden to come back and boom, you're doing nothing. You're not going
Right.
anywhere.
Absolutely.
So I just decided I was going to maybe, just write some thoughts, some memories. It was like a therapeutic exercise to begin with. And then I didn't stop. And for 2 years, I sat home and I wrote. I didn't do any other kind of work. That's what I did. And I loved it. I loved doing it. And that's how it came about.
Wow, that's awesome. So you have all your stories in there as well as the work that you've done according to that. Now, I wanted to hear real quick. You mentioned Mick Foley, and that was one of the questions I was going to ask you anyway.
Yeah.
Could you please tell us how that transpired, what happened with his ear and all that stuff?
Yeah. What a lot of people don't realize is that it happened way before the night his ear came off.
Right,
Because every night he would do the same move where he'd get slung into the ropes. He'd insert his head between the top and the center rope, and then he'd flip over.
right.
And then the referee would do his best to open the ropes, but it's difficult to do that.
Yes.
And his ears would get nicked every night. So by the time we got to Munich, Germany, his ears were just hanging. I mean,
Oh,
he would
God.
he would tape his ears down,
Wow.
and they were always like pussy, and I mean, it was
Oh,
gross.
poor Mick.
So that was more like the final straw, that,
Yeah,
um, and he was wrestling Vader, and the referee that night was a guy by the name. This was in Europe, so it was a guy by the name of Didier Gep. He was a Frenchman, and he didn't speak English,
right,
and he didn't know this move. And the American referees, for different reasons, had to go back to the States. So this guy was brought in,
right.
and the ring ropes were extra tight. So when Foley did that move, the guy didn't know to try to
Pull the
open the
ropes.
ropes, and they were extra tight, and it didn't fall off at that point when he went through, but it cut it again so that he took one shot from Vader, and when his head whiplashed back, the ear came off.
Oh,
And the referee, I didn't know that, right? I'm sitting at ringside, I'm
right.
sitting nose to the mat, at the timekeeper's table. And I noticed the referee like squat down, and his fingers were like a tweezer. And I saw him grab something. I had no idea. And
Oh
we
my.
couldn't talk to each other because I don't speak French. He didn't speak English.
Okay.
And he came over and he was yelling. But I did understand. He said, ambulance, ambulance. So I get
Oh
it.
no. Yeah, you got to call an ambulance.
And he flipped me the ear. So I picked the ear up and put it in my hand. And I would never leave ringside, ever.
No, ever. I know you
I'm
wouldn't.
sitting there giving time cues back then. We didn't have earpieces.
Exactly.
So I run back stage, and Ric Flair was in charge that night.
Right.
And it was really dark, and you couldn't see much in the back. And I said to him, Rick, I've got Cactus's ear in my hand. He
Oh.
said, what are you doing back here? I said, I've got Cactus's ear in my hand. He said, are you feeling okay? I said, come here. And I grabbed him by the arm, and I brought him underneath a downlight in the Sportsahalle in Munich, Germany. And
Right.
he looked at it, and he looked at me, and he looked at it, and he looked at me, and he said, damn, that's an ear. I said, I've been trying
After
to
all
tell you,
that.
like, we need to put it on ice. If there's
Oh
going to
my
be any
God.
chance of it, attaching it back to his head, it needs to
Yeah.
go on ice. So then I
Wow.
ran in and out of the dressing rooms looking for the doctor, because he would be the person that would have the ice.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, it was really unfortunate, but I mean, you could see it coming. At some point, it was going to happen.
That's crazy. Oh my God. I
Yeah.
can't believe that. And it's funny because then when he wrestled in the United States,
Hmm.
everybody thought that that was the first and only time that his ear came off. When he
Well,
said
that
that,
was the only time it came off, but it had been like it was severed little by little by little. It was like
right,
getting nicked.
but you said you held it in your hand.
Yeah.
So it came off in Germany
Yeah.
the first time. Is that
Uh,
correct?
the only time.
Okay, so what was the episode about in America where he when that was when his teeth went through his top lip when he had that incident and
Oh
his
no,
teeth
that
went through his okay,
I
what
don't know
happened
about that.
was yeah, he had an incident where his teeth went through his top lip and when they showed him his teeth were like all the way up to here but then they said that was when his ear came off. So I guess something else must have happened that night. And the Munich thing never came out in the press or anything like that to us. It all
Hmm.
happened in the United States, which of course is probably what was supposed to be said, you know. But
Ah,
um, but that's crazy, unbelievable. But I'm glad everybody's hearing this. We talked also about Andre the Giant. I knew Andre
that
well.
that was funny.
It was funny
You're glad everyone's hearing it. We're talking about losing an ear.
hearing and everybody's hearing it. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's all right, Gary. Don't worry about it. Well, anyway,
I'm
we talked.
listening carefully.
Okay, we talked about Andre, and I knew Andre very well. And I believe I told this to the fans that I learned French in high school for 4 years. Then afterwards, I learned it on my own. Okay, after that, and I met Andre, and I used to write letters to him. Um, we had a place where I could send them, and he would have somebody pick them up or whatever. And then he'd call me, and he'd go over the letters with me and say what I did right, what I did wrong. Do you have any good experiences? Like, hopefully, the most of them were good. But what were your experiences like with Andre?
Oh, I've only had good experiences with Andre. Um,
He he was a great guy, though.
oh yeah. There were not many people that Andre didn't like,
Right.
but you didn't want to be one of them.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I never experienced that. And I would get to, the venue and he'd be playing cards with Arnold Skolin. And,
Yeah.
he was just, hey, boss, how you doing? He would always call everybody boss.
Yeah.
Um, and no, I had a great deal of respect for him. He had respect for me. And I never had one negative experience. I think it's interesting that if you walk down the street and you mention Andre the Giant to the average person out on the street, they're going to think of Princess Bride.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
become such a cult favorite movie.
Oh, unbelievable. My kids and I actually still watch it now, and everybody's full grown, but it's a really good movie. I also read that during that movie, he was in terrible pain, and they had to do a
Hmm.
lot of prosthetics and stuff like that to, make it look like he was actually doing the things he was doing. But let's go back a little bit. What year did you start being a ring announcer?
1974. This is my
Okay.
50th anniversary year.
God bless you. Now, are you in the 50th year? Or are you just starting it or is it ending? Where are you in that 50th year?
July 6th, 1974. So we're
Okay.
almost to the 50th anniversary.
Wow. And what are you doing to celebrate? I read something about an induction of some kind. Do you have a Hall of Fame thing coming up?
No,
No? Oh, I thought I
no.
read something about that. Well, you never know. Maybe I just spilled the beans.
Maybe you spilled some beans.
I don't know.
I haven't really thought about it, of like
Mhm.
celebrating. I haven't,
Oh, you
don't know.
should. How about if
Well,
we do this? When you want to celebrate, you let me know. You come back on the air and we'll do a big, nice celebration all about you and your 50th year. And maybe uh, we'll air maybe some pictures from your book, and tell some stories about the individual pictures. My friend Brian, God bless him, this is all new to me. Okay. So he's going to show me how to do all that stuff. So maybe while you're talking, we can pop a picture in here and there. Um, all right, question.
Forget about popping a picture. I want to be there with you, and we'll pop the cork for the champagne.
All
That's
right.
what I want.
Hey, right here
If
next
we're
to
going to
me.
celebrate, we have to
Okay,
do
you
it
got
right.
it. All right, now you said that in public. Okay, so
I
you
said
got
we
it.
have to. I didn't say I was traveling. I'm in Florida these days.
Are you in Florida right now?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I thought you still lived up this way.
I moved about a little over a year ago.
Do you like it better there?
I like it. It's I'm a Jersey guy. I'll
Yeah.
always be a Jersey guy. So that's
Right.
not going to change. I
No,
miss.
of course
I
not.
don't know if you had. Did you have much snow this winter?
Not really. We did have two storms, but they weren't anything dramatic.
I love the snow. That's the one thing I'd miss. But I can always travel north when it snows.
Yeah. What do you have family up here?
Oh yeah, I have brothers and nephews and nieces in New Jersey.
Okay. Well, I have my friend Jeannie here. She's not on camera right now because we have to fix this setup so that she
Hi,
can
Jeannie.
sit here with me.
Hi, Gary. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
All right. I'm sure she has a question or two for you.
I do.
He can talk and you can move your lips. And then it'll be like, forget about it. I'm sorry.
No,
You got me up. You got me up early on a Saturday morning, so I'm a little weird.
Oh, wait a minute. This was your request to do it early, remember?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so you got me up early.
Wow,
Okay.
that was quick. You're right.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead, Jeannie.
So I want to hear the story because I do not know it. That you were known as the world's most dangerous announcer, and that was that name was given to you by Jim Cornette. How did that come about?
Well, that's true, but there's not much of a story to it. It was Jim Cornette was on commentary, and it comes the origin of it was David Letterman, actually. So David Letterman grew up in Indianapolis. He was a wrestling fan, and he watched the world's most dangerous wrestler, Dick the Bruiser. And then when he had his talk show and he had his band, he called his band the world's most dangerous band, Paul Schaefer. And I don't know why Jim Cornette just dubbed me the world's most dangerous. It was probably just probably a joke. It was probably because I'm the least dangerous person in the world. So I think it was like funny to him.
Yeah.
And it stuck. So
well, you're actually one of the nicest.
The world's most dangerous announcer, and they call me GMC. So those are my nicknames.
Oh, well, there you go. Do you have another one?
Yeah.
Okay, she has another one for you.
I do. I also saw that there is you are working possibly on a screenplay, Fall for the Dream.
I wrote the screenplay when I wrote around the same time period that I wrote my book. Because I found that when I was writing my book, I couldn't accurately quote wrestlers because, we're talking about things that happened 20 years ago, at that point.
Right.
So, but I could hear them. I can hear them speak. And it wasn't difficult to come up with a sentence and as you read it and you hear it, yes, that's how Bruno would talk. Yes, that's how Andre would speak. So I found that to be the easiest part, and it was a lot of fun. So what's a screenplay but dialogue? It's all dialogue.
Right.
So it really was. I created it initially as an upsell for my book. So when you called at the time, you could call an 800 number, order my book. The operator would say, "Oh, and Gary also has a screenplay. Would you like to include that in your order?" So I had them published and bound. It follows the career of a young up and coming wrestler, and by the end of the movie, he's head to head at odds with the owner of the promotion, and his last match in the movie is real. He needs, in order to save himself, in order to save his life, it's a shoot.
Oh my
shoot,
gosh,
yeah.
that
Wow.
sounds amazing.
That's
I would
crazy.
definitely go see that.
I would definitely like to see that too.
Yes.
Is there any way we can see it?
Well, no, it's never been picked up. It's never been made into a movie.
Oh,
We need to get a petition out
oh yeah,
to get this.
definitely, definitely. How long ago did you write it?
24 years ago.
Is it still available for reading along with your book?
I have copies.
I'm going to have to get one of those from you and read it because I really like stuff like that. It's now when you say it's about a wrestler, upcoming wrestler, is there anybody in particular that it's about, or just somebody you created?
Someone I created. Yeah, in the movie, his name is Dino Corporato, I think was the name.
Okay.
A young Italian guy coming up.
Nah, really? Italian name like that? Are you kidding? I thought it was Irish.
You're right what you know.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I've been thinking about writing a book myself. I talked to you about that already, if
Yep.
you remember. It's very difficult. People don't realize how hard it is. Everybody's always saying to me, write a book, you know. But it's difficult because, like you said, a lot of it could be called hearsay because those people aren't around. And all you can do is speak from your heart and your mind, what you remember, what you've been through, what you know. And, you know, how do you prove any of that? You know, I mean, you really can't. Like, I have a picture up on Facebook of Andre the Giant and me, and then Andre the Giant and my mother. And people have actually accused me of using a poster board, a cutout of
Photoshop.
Andre. Yeah, or Photoshop and standing in front of him. And it's funny because like the one where I'm standing in front of him, my hands are down like this and we're holding hands. You can't really see the hands. But my mother, his arm is literally around her shoulder. And it's like, you know, it was a Polaroid. It was a retake of a Polaroid. So of course it looks crappy, you know. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like, how do you can't prove any of that? You know, it's only your words, only hearsay. But I would love to write a book about, you know, I'm 66 years old. So we're talking 60 years of stories, you know, and 60 years of memories and my parents and what we did years ago and that kind of thing. So I'd still like to try and do it, but, you know, we'll see what happens at some point. But I have another question for you. Were you ever injured by a wrestler during a match of some kind or at the end of the match, or like, did you ever have any injuries?
Yeah, I guess the worst one was the night that Iron Mike Sharp knocked me out.
Wow.
At the Philadelphia Spectrum. Remember, he used to wear that armband.
Yes.
He didn't actually knock me out. He knocked me out of the ring, and then when I flew out, my head hit the metal railing, you know, in front of the front row, and I was out.
Wow.
But I mean, I wasn't really hurt. I mean, it was a temporary thing, and
yeah, he must have been devastated when he found out that that happened.
He didn't like the decision that the referee made when I announced it. He ran after me, and that's, you know, I was trying to get away from him.
Oh my God! All right, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit right now. If you had to come up with 3 really, really memorable times in your career, can you give me 3?
Oh, okay, that's better. I usually don't do the best, the worst, the most, the least. Okay. You know, 50 years. You can't.
It's hard.